Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Wow, that was pretty meta, wasn't it? Laughing along and clapping with people in the film. That was really amazing. So, as promised, we have a wonderful selection of guests, so I'd like to ask them to join me up on stage. David Henry Hwang. Francis June. The director of the play, the original play, and the revival, Lee Silverman. And making her Broadway debut, which we watched, Shannon Tyo.
I am not David Henry Hwang. I just play him on stage.
That was very meta, yeah. It's like Daniel Dae Kim. You know, I've retired now. I think you see the reason. They moved me up. So, we're going to start, thank you for hanging in, we're going to start the program with something that's a little bit of a tradition here at CAAMFest, and that is to have a commendation from the city and from the supervisor of the district we are in. So I would like to invite, and I'm going to work on getting the name here right this time. On behalf of Supervisor Bilal Ahmad, I'd like to ask Will McPhee to come up and make these commendations.
Hello all. So the supervisor was unable to be here tonight, but he did ask I offer a few words. I'm going to give them shaky hands and all. Yeah, that's great. So he sends his warmest congratulations and deep regret for missing tonight's celebration as he wasn't able to attend. But to all the filmmakers and creatives joining us from around the country, welcome to San Francisco and welcome to Japantown. And congratulations to the CAAMFest on another unforgettable year of uplifting Asian American voices. Yeah. So Japantown is more than just a neighborhood. It's one of just 3 remaining Japantowns in the United States, a living testament to resilience, creativity, and intergenerational memory. We're proud to host CAAMFest here in a place where young artists walk the same streets their grandparents once fought to protect. And it's truly special to close this year's festival with Yellowface, a sharp, fearless exploration of identity, race, and representation. So we're here not just to honor their story, but the artists who brought it to life. On behalf of Supervisor McMood and the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, I'm honored to present commendations to the extraordinary cast and creative team behind Yellowface. Your work brings national visibility to Asian American stories and pushes the boundaries of inclusive storytelling. So thank you.
And there's a lovely commendation for each one. I hope you might trade them. Thank you very much. Did we get the right ones, or are those for other people? Okay. Actually, Lee, if we could, and we might have to share mics, yes. Since you are the director, actually, of this original 2007 production, and also the revival, I think it might be best if you sort of help tell us how the revival part came about, and importantly, in working with David, as you have a number of times, was there a feeling that now was a special time to be able to bring this back to be a revival?
Sure. I will. I'll say David's really sad not to be here. His son got married yesterday, which is the only reason why he wouldn't be here tonight. He's really so happy that we're all here, and grateful to all of you and to CAAMFest. So I met David in 2006. He had just spent 10 years working for Disney, writing Disney musicals, and he had said that he was working on this play that he thought was really going to be kind of this crazy satire, and he was telling me the story as we were working on it, and it became clear that actually the story about his father was what he actually wanted to write about. And when we worked on it originally, I will say that it's such a strange play in so many ways, because it starts out being this sort of like docudrama, and then it turns into this crazy backstage farce, and then it goes into this really political play, and then it ends up really being this very personal play about David and his father. And it as we were working on it, we couldn't quite, we were just like, oh, what is this gonna feel like? What is it gonna be? What is it gonna be? And people liked it, and they thought it was really funny, but they also really talked about it as being quite niche. And people also really, at that time, felt that, we heard a lot of audiences be like, yeah, you know, Jonathan Pryce was really good at Miss Saigon. You know, like there was a lot of that. And it's really interesting. One of the things that David and I talked a lot about was, when we talked about this revival, was believing that the conversation around casting and representation had moved into the mainstream, to the point that we felt that Yellowface would be received completely differently. And that felt really exciting and potentially could work really well for a Broadway revival. And that during the pandemic and leading up to the pandemic, there had been such an intense spike in Asian American hate crime, and that too would lead to a conversation around Yellowface and what happened to David's father, and the reminder about the Senate banking finance, which we hear about, the scandals and the reporting that was done, that too would have different resonance. And in both cases, the play has felt, I think, more relevant than even we could have imagined. And it has continued to feel, I mean, I will say, the very first performance that we had on Broadway, when the Jonathan Pryce part happened, and the audience was like, oh my God! We were like, yes, finally! You know, and I think that was very gratifying. And that the world had kind of caught up to David. And I think he was so ahead of his time. The other thing that I just want to say about David is that the meta-ness of this play and what happened in this play, it kind of spawned generations of playwrights who do similar things. And very many playwrights came to see the play and they were like, oh my God, I stole that from Yellowface. And I think it's really a testament to this play. I've worked on 8 plays with David, and I think this play is a masterpiece. And it was really a tremendous opportunity to bring it to Broadway this fall with the incredible cast. It was really with the leadership of Dae Kim that we were able to do that, and it was one of the great joys. Francis Ju got to play the part of the father again, and it was really, truly the opportunity to see these two together play David and his father was just a dream come true. And the rest of the cast, Shannon and the other amazing actors, I truly just have to say that putting that cast together, I was literally like, who are the greatest actors in New York? And I see them in, like, being able to see this, having the opportunity to have PBS capture the show, to know that there will be generations and generations of people who will be able to see this play, see these performances, have the opportunity to live inside this weird, crazy world of David's. And I can say I'm so grateful that the play feels resonant, and I also can't wish for the day when people are like, wow, that happened. And for it not to feel quite as current as it does right now. So it's a weird wish, right? And yet it feels today ever so much more important that the play was revived this year.
I only wish actually that we have time and it weren't so late at night to be able to delve so deeply with each. But we don't. So one thing I want to say, and there's so much more we could, but I think folks want to hear from you performers, and simply I'd love for you to go down the line, and maybe we'll start with you, Shannon, of the feelings you have now to actually have it embraced in such a special way, to be recognized with the Tony nominations of Best Revival. The first time ever an Asian American lead actor in a leading role, and for actor in a featured role. This is a remarkable moment. And at the same time, for all of this celebration, and it's wonderful, it's a difficult, challenging period, I think, for us at the same time. And we carry that also with us. And I think we'd all love to know from you how it feels. And also, in a sense, that resolve. How do you feel about this the creative task of telling stories, of being, of representing? And, I don't know if you could give us your feelings now, and I'm hoping a feeling of holding together and pushing forward. This moment in time, what will it be like to now have this work sort of be a lasting testament for generations to come?
How many questions is that?
5 seconds or less.
He's like in the play, it's going to get meta.
Dan, do you want to start? Okay. Thanks, guys. Well, I don't know. While you were talking, the thought occurred to me, and I'm not sure which of your questions this is an answer to. I'm sorry. I think in terms of, this is my first Broadway show, and it's a very, very special thing to have it filmed so beautifully. And these three people to my left are my heroes. And I admired them a lot prior to working with them. And I think one of the things that I admire so much about each of them is that they are three extraordinary people. Just good people with such a work-life balance. And I feel like a lot of times in this business, it just gets very horse blindery, focused, eyes on the prize. And I want to live a full life, a full, complete life. And these three people, being around them, shows me that I can have that and do that. And I think that's just also an important thing that I want to take forward into this kind of work, which is, it can be really heavy. It's hard to represent a community, as it were. It's a lot, and I think an important part of that is living a full life, living a full, well-rounded life. So I'm happy to have so many people in my life who I can look to for that kind of example. Was that an answer to some of the questions?
is really meta watching this play here in San Francisco, where I was born and raised, and where I first discovered, you know, that I wanted to be an actor, even though I was a really, really shy kid, when I watched my brother play the Prince in a high school production of The King and I, where he was one of only 2 Asian people in the cast. But as far as I was concerned, they were all Siamese. And when I first started working, I remember thinking, I'm only going to make it in this business if I learn how to get cast non-traditionally in classical theater and play white people in historical plays and learn how to do Western theater. And so part of what is so incredibly gratifying right now is, one, the acknowledgement right now that is being given to Asian American artists for the, you know, first time at this level, but also to be acknowledged for playing an immigrant, for representing their radical faith in what makes America America, and especially at this time when immigrants, many of whom are more American than, you know, I grew up being, who are being targeted right now simply because of who they are. It's a great honor to be able to shine a light on that in this time. And so I had a great time doing this show during an election season where it felt like with this play, we were speaking back and standing up. I'm especially proud that it's going to be on PBS now, so that hopefully it adds to our national conversation, and that it can maybe convince some people of the dignity of these immigrants and of our community and their children in this country.
Do you have another question for me, or do you want me to like pull something from the thread?
No, you know. Daniel, you represent so much to us all. And you know the stand that you've taken time and again. We're all about putting yourself on the line. And you know, it was a wonderful comedy. I'd like to do as if you were the man you've played. But that is noted, and we carry that with you when we see you. So you carry all of that when you do a play like this, and yet you're also having fun. And I think we want to hear the fun side. So tell us what it's like to be Daniel Dae Kim.
I thought your question was going a whole different way. I'm up at the very end. No, what I will say is, it really is liberating to be in a comedy. And it's so, I think, effective as a storytelling technique to talk about very heavy issues, but dress them and present them in a way that people can laugh. Because one of the things that I think is so unique about what we get to do for a living is that we're not sitting in a classroom. You're not reading a book necessarily about history, but you're getting entertained. And then you're learning about these kinds of things. As a friend of mine likes to say, you're getting a spoonful of sugar with the medicine, you know? And I think that's something that we can do as storytellers. We can entertain as well as educate, or as well as introduce ideas. And when it's something about the community like this play is, you know, it's a natural mesh with the work that I do and the passion that I have for the same issue. So to be able to work on a show like this that addresses all of the things that I've been exposed to, and all of us, by virtue of what we do, have experienced, is so fortunate. And to get a show produced in general is very difficult. To get a show produced and then have it be successful is even more difficult. And then to have that same show be nominated for Tony Awards is unprecedented in our community. And so for us to be able to sit here and proudly say, this is a story about us, this is a story about all of us, and not just Asian Americans. This story deals with what Francis so eloquently said, that it's not Asian American, or as Shannon says in the show, Asian American does not equal spy. Venezuelan professor does not equal bad hombre. This is about everyone who looks unlike the majority and how we make up part of America too. We are an essential part of this country. And in times like this, we need entertainment and we need laughter to remind us of that.
Reflections on this?
I'm not following that.
Yeah. I know, I'm afraid to say anything more, I'm going to mess it up. So I'm going to do that whole trick. I know some of you have comments and questions yourselves, so I do want to give you all a chance. We'll start right here.
Hi everyone. I wrote this out, and it's a little bit of preamble. Sorry. Congratulations on the 20 nominations, as well as for Nicole Scherzinger and Conrad Mora. It's a brilliant moment for the Asian community for a multitude of reasons. Among them, NEA funding these local theaters, and diversity, equity, and inclusion concept being under attack. I'm worried this is going to just be another Asian August, where a life fervor for greater solidarity within the AAPI community only for it to fade in the moment. For a young performer, for a young artist who desires to maintain the momentum this moment can provide to bring the greater community together, what would you recommend they do if they lack the connections and money to capitalize on this moment and transform hype into lasting solidarity within the AAPI community?
That is the quality of our audience.
Look, we're all on this stage, literally on a platform. You know, we all are fortunate by virtue of what we do to have a platform to reach more people than is typical. But everyone has a sphere of influence, whether it's in your school, or whether it's in your place of work, whether it's in your community of friends. You have influence over someone. You're someone's brother, you're someone's son, you're someone's daughter, you're someone's father. So it may not be hundreds of thousands of people or millions of people like a TikTok influencer, but I guarantee you that there's someone in your circle that you can introduce to these subjects and that you can educate if appropriate, or just speak your mind and speak your truth. And it doesn't matter whether it's 100,000 or 3, because if you are able to make even one person understand it, you're actually doing more good than the people who stay silent.
I'll just add that, you know, as somebody who's been around for a long time and been hungry sometimes and been poor sometimes and flush, I've always felt like there was no excuse to, you know, not act, not to work on my craft every single day. And I didn't have to have a job to do that. I didn't have to have a platform to do that or a theater offering me money to do it. My job, what I can control, is constantly looking for inspiration, supporting my tribe, the people who inspire me, and constantly getting better. You know, so that when an opportunity comes around, I'm ready. I think that we have to just be here. We cannot let anybody cancel us and convince us that we are not worthy of telling these stories and being heard. And to do that, at least for me, it has just meant keep working, whether or not, you know, I'm in a Broadway show or working here in San Francisco or just in my living room watching TV going, I could do that better. You know, find your tribe, and if your tribe can keep supporting each other, then talent will out. There is something deep down inside of you as an artist, the way that I believe as a person, that talent will out. So just keep at it, persist.
Question? Yes, sir, right there.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to ask, because obviously, Daniel, you played David Henry Hwang in the play, and Francis, you played David Henry Hwang in Soft Power. What's it like but like, what's it like playing David Henry Hwang, the character, versus David Henry Hwang, the person?
It's much scarier playing his dad. Because he has feelings about his dad. And I wanted to live up to all of that. Playing him, I mean, he's so self-deprecating. And he satirizes himself so much. I kind of feel like Daniel played the sort of much more glamorous version of David than I. He's so generous. It was not ever an issue. I mean, the only thing he ever said to me about his dad really was, you know, he stood tall, and when he walked into a room, he was the star. And whenever, you know, the biggest question I had for him when I played him in Soft Power was, do I have to wear a wig? He said he absolutely did not want me to wear a wig.
He asked me to wear
All I'll say about that is that David never asked me to do an impression of him. In fact, he said, please don't, which was actually really liberating. And he himself has said many times, this is a version of me. And I thought, how brave it is for the playwright to make himself, be willing to make himself the butt of jokes, as opposed to being the hero of the story. He spares no one in this story, and least of all himself. And I think that actually gives the play more credibility, that's the word. And I think that's really important when you're talking about an issue like this, that we're all human. We're all making mistakes, and we're all just trying to do better.
Extraordinary. Being human and having an identity is almost inherently confusing. And so I want to know, how do you toggle between having the vision and skills to perform an identity and return to a grounded reality? And what is that grounded reality that you return to?
That's a great question. What is grounded reality right now? I don't know if I know the answer to that.
I don't feel like I have the right to assume that I can actually understand what any character, what any actual person has experienced in their life. But the great thing about live theater is you're watching people attempting to and trying to represent that point of view. It's that active compassion that I think is so exciting about live theater. And they help me understand myself when I try to find what I have in common with somebody who was worked in a laundry, who became a banker and immigrated to a country where he didn't even know the language, or playing a mass murdering war criminal, or playing just somebody's dad who is in Chinatown, whose daughter became a playwright. I learned so much about what I am capable of as a human being, that base reality, from these fictional characters.
Yeah, I think doing live theater, you do 8 shows a week, so there is very little, for me anyway, there's sort of little distance between who you are on stage and a grounded reality, because you do bring everything that happened in your day to work with you every night or every afternoon. So that's also another beautiful thing about live theater. You're just a different person from day to day, so we're professional, we stick to our lines, we hit our marks and things, but some days you're a little more tired or you're a little more angry, and that's a beautiful thing about this job is you get to be a little bit different 8 times a week.
We'll go on this side, yes. Now we're over time.
Let's take one question from the balcony.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. Okay, yes, balcony, one quick.
I really loved the movie. It was funny all throughout, and a really nice movie to close out this weekend where a lot of the other programming talked about generational trauma, which is a necessary conversation that's starting in a different way. So thank you guys for also being here to share your wisdom with us. And what's my question now? Actually, I would love to hear this from all of you because you all are, life and have different gender identities too. How do you advocate for yourself and stand up to authorities without worrying about racism and disabilities? How do you create a space where so much access and opportunities through relationship?
I think I say this to everyone all the time, always. It's important when I can't tell how old you are, I'm so sorry, but 27? Right. You're young. It's important to say yes, it's important to do work. It is equally as important to say no. You do not have to do anything. And if the opportunity that you are saying no to disappears and you didn't align with it, that's okay. Something else will come. You don't have to force yourself into any situation that you feel uncomfortable with. Something else will come along. You don't have to be rude about it either. You can just politely say, this is not for me. That is a full and complete thought.
When I'm asked by young students how to have a long career and figure out what their type is and how to best project that type, I usually answer by asking them, what kind of career they want, not the kind of career that other people are trying to choose for them, and that they have control. I've been very lucky to be able to choose things that matter to me to do. And it's taken me a long time in my own personal life to be able to value my own opinion as much as other people's. But I've also been really, really fortunate to just have the opportunity to choose projects that say things that I want to say on behalf of my family. And so I think everybody needs to be reminded of that every once in a while. That you have a choice. You get to choose. So, to tag on to what Shannon said, if anyone is asking you to do anything you don't want to do, it's fine. It's fine. You get to decide.
I don't want to follow Daniel, so I'm going to go next. I will say that I think the most important thing is that a life in I can only speak for a life in the theater, but I think it's true of most of the arts, which is that there isn't any one way to do it. And it's very hard to, there's an expression like it's the feature, not the bug. And what I think it means is that that's a good thing. It means that if you have two actors talking about their careers or any two directors, like everybody got there in a different way. And it took everybody a different amount of time. And that is the great thing about being in the theater or in the arts, in the sense that it's not like you go to school for 7 years and then like boom, you're a dentist or a doctor. And like, I think that that is frustrating in a lot of ways, but it's also the feature, not the bug, because it means that it can happen in your specific way and on your specific timeline, and you don't have to compare it to the other person or any number of other people. And that's a really exciting, dynamic place to be. And also, you are generating your own path. It's coming from you, and so you get to be your own pilot light. So that is the thing to cultivate, is that pilot light, and to keep it lit however you can.
I'll be brief because these guys are so eloquent, I don't really need to add much. All I will say is I will tie it into the earlier question about how we can be vocal, how we can stand up for ourselves, and whether it's for your work or whether it's for your life. You know, the past several years, our community has actually expanded and it's grown and it's strengthened because and it was through adversity. It was through the hate crimes against Asian Americans that brought us all together. We're now facing something similar, but from a different place. And so, as important as it is to galvanize when we're celebrating and when times are good, it's even more important to come together when times are difficult. And so, that can be a metaphor for our community or for your life. You know, when people talk about courage, it's not acting in the absence of fear. Courage is acting, acknowledging the fear, understanding that fear, and then doing it anyway. So all of those things are really, I think, important as you build your own career or as you navigate your life, that there are very few times where everything is going to be just peaceful and easy. And frankly, maybe you don't want that, because the only way that a diamond gets formed is through pressure. And that adversity is what creates resilience and what creates stamina and determination. So those obstacles can be fuel for you with the right perspective.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. That's 43 is out.